Hello and welcome to any combo lords there or in the future for this live video where we are going to be looking at some dice, trying to dodge the rain because it rained here, and talking about the new Patreon that I made, which any of you can pull up if you are curious. Now, as we can see in our rain landscape, the combo classroom and rain mixed can be a little bit chaotic, but it gives us a free clock washing. And some of the things may not be as friends with the rain. Like there was these big plastic containers that I had a lot of my stuff in that were open, and so I didn't expect it to rain again so quick. It poured this morning for some reason, and so now I need to check open those plastic containers that I think were secretly trickling and collecting a whole bath of rainwater for a lot of my items. Luckily, the dice are well protected, apart from the millions of dice that are already in the ground. But the in the ground ones are even better because they're going to make a dice carpet before too long. They're already starting to do it. If we look at the ground, we can see that some of the dice are just sitting in the ground. Other dice are fully embedded in the ground. I don't know if you can fully see it, but they were creating a little landscape that happens when they get stepped on not long after a rain. And so, if we spill any dice while I'm showing any dice today, have no fear because they will join the carpet. It's still muddy enough that if we accidentally spill them and accidentally step on them, combines into a good thing, as long as we don't step on them in a way that makes us slip. Now, basically, we are in the latter portion of grade -1. We are moving forward to probably a few months from now, grade -2 will emerge. But before the shift, we need to be ready for grade -2 to hit because there's not going to be a big gap between these two grades. And so I'm thinking about what I needed to restock in my classroom supplies. And obviously, some of it's clocks. You can see a new glow in the dark. I think it's glow in the dark one back there. And we got another new one or two, which is good because we've broken one or two recently. And I realized that although I had so many dice I've bought more than 1,000 dice because you can get bulk deals that are actually pretty cheap on dice. Um, I Anytime I'm trying to look for some around the classroom, I can't find the particular platonic solid I'm looking for. It's always like, out of all these dice, where's a dodecahedron? There's tons of cubes. Those I always find, but the other platonic solids I had less of. And there's some other sorts of dice you could imagine. So I got a lot of bulk dice in preparation of grade -2. We're going to look at a few today. I'll put them in a bowl so that we won't have to lose all of them. Then I can collect them later, keep them out of in case the rain comes back. But if some fall, totally fine because they'll join the dice carpet. To whoever asked how I am today, I'm all right. It's been a wild year, very tough, but very good parts as well. So doing not too bad. Things are complicated always. My life is blessed and cursed. I don't mean like in terms of something causing it to be that way, but just turns out I get a lot of luck, of good luck and bad luck. I don't know why. A lot of really bad things happen to me. A lot of really good things happen to me. It's weird. Um, so here is the bowl that we are going to check out some types of dice that we had to get. Now, the first one is the obvious polyhedral dice. And polyhedral dice are ones that have different types of faces on them. And looking at them one at a time, they come in a lot of colors in this pack. This is a great one, the icosahedron that I recently showed. I realized is the shape inside the magic 8-ball. Um, this has an icosahedron in there. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, that's an icosahedron in there too. And so icosahedrons are dope. It's 5 triangles at each vertex, wraps around with 20 faces. You get your dodecahedrons, of course. Where's the dodecahedrons? Here we go. Got a dodecahedron. And you got your good old octahedron. You got your good old tetrahedron. And you got your bad old 10-sided die. This one puts them as multiples of 10. Some put them as multiples of 1. In any case, doesn't join the Platonic solid club. Look, they're little kite faces. They're not a regular polygon. Because you can't make a regular polygon meeting at the same convex angle at each vertex that makes a 10-sided thing. And so with the same regular polygon on each face. Now, even though it rolls fairly, it's not as good of a shape. And also, you don't really need it, because if you have a 20-sided die, you could just divide your answer by 2 and round up, and that is a 10-sided die. So, we got a lot of polyhedral dice. That was one of the things that I knew I needed for some episodes I had planned for grade -2. Might sound crazy, but there's a lot more to say about dice. I know I've already said some things about dice, but there's a lot more secrets they have. Now, some of their secrets are only going to be unveiled when I get to decide what's on the dice. There are things I want to put the numbers on the dice to show some crazy math with that I can't find them. I need to put the numbers on myself. And that's why I also got blank dice. And these ones I'll probably keep in the pack. It's easier that way for now, but look at all those blank dice ready to make some crazy dice, including intransitive dice, where, believe it or I'll explain this later. They're crazy. I got episodes planned about those. So now what would you need apart from that? Well, I mean, the cubes were cheap. Some of the cubes were the best deal, so I had to get more cubes also. You know, cubes are helpful to have as dice. Also, I've already used them in the episode that's coming out tonight or tomorrow on the main channel, which is the sequel to the base -10 episode and is absolutely crazy. Goes into base pi, base root 2, base cube root of 10, base golden ratio, a lot of crazy ones. So that's coming on the main channel tonight or tomorrow. The dice weren't really being dice in that. They were just being little representers of an item, a 1 of something that you add up to how much is in an integer. But dice came in handy for it anyway. Now, you'd probably think that was all the dice you'd need, but there is one other cheap type of dice that I found, a great new type of dice that I hadn't had before, which is, you know how a lot of the time you roll 2 dice and take the sum of them or have some method of interacting the two? Now, in fact, with 2 6-sided dice, if you have the right way of amalgamating the numbers, that's not just adding, you can have 2 6-sided dice fairly copy a 12-sided die or many other types of dice. And what if you wanted to roll 2 at once? Well, that's when this might come in handy. Dice in dice. A lot of cool dice in dice. We got a lot of them. These are going to be cool because when you roll each one of them, you get 2 6-sided dice with sort of like a difference of big or small that you could assign different traits to the results. So those will come in handy for sure. So I've gotten all the dice I'm going to need for grade -2, but I need to get clocks, and I can't afford the cool ones that are online. And I don't want the cheap, boring ones that are online. So I need to go to thrift stores and to yard sales and stuff, which is where I got a lot of these clocks. Now, we'll go clock hunting soon. And whoever said rest in peace to all the clocks, well, they are going to be doing okay because the clocks usually have a glass cover on them. Rest in peace to this clock. I should try and drain it somehow. Yeah, that clock's not gonna last too much longer, but it's been in a lot of great footage. That clock has helped teach many things. So sometimes if you destroy something on film in the right way as part of a project, like an episode or whatever, you can get extra use out of it, more than if you had left it non-destroyed. Someone said to make a wish list if they mean for things that would be cool to get, like dice. Maybe I will make that at some point where I would just have random props people could get. And if they bought me any, it would get mailed to me and I would put it in an episode. But I'm not going to ask for that right away because I just made a Patreon, and that I already feel weird for asking for any money related thing. So I feel weird enough talking about the Patreon, which I'm going to do in a bit. And maybe I will do the wish list thing at some point as well, which, then people could buy weird props they want to see in episodes. But for now, if people want to support it, I'll go on the quick tangent right now, which is that I did launch a Patreon. There's some cool different types of tiers. Got a lot of bonus videos up on there, such as like when I burnt the first clock in an episode and all the scene behind that, including me limping around because I was before surgery. I got some sneak previews on some lower tiers, and there's some higher ones where you can interact with me more directly in some like group class discussion things I'm going to be doing. So everyone, please check that out. Obviously, I don't expect most people to be able to do that. So all good. Watching the videos and commenting and stuff is enough. But for anyone who can additionally support on the Patreon, you are extra helping, and you will help make sure that Grade -2 is awesome. Now that I've gotten all my dice, I need to focus on, assembling a good editing team, having some money for animation and stuff like that, and having money for fun, like locations that we could go to and stuff like that. And so I want to make Grade -2 extra cool, and some people are going to help on there. So that's all I got to say. The link's in the description so people can see more about what the tiers offer. But anyone who can support on there is really helping education in the combo class way. Someone's also saying I could have a P.O. box. And the problem with that is, like, I need to look up the limits of them. Do they allow really big clocks? Because the cool clocks are pretty big, So maybe I'll look up the details of a P.O. box someday, because I'm sure a lot of you have a clock you don't need, or a clock that you consider broken that would work just fine here. Now, someone's saying, do I live here? No, I live in the house there. I have a small room. Not that. I live in a small room in there. But this is basically like in my backyard. And I spend a lot of time here. And yeah, someone likes the evolution of lab coat to warn people it will reset in each grade. So I'll keep the old lab coats in case I need an extra backup lab coat in some videos. But I'm going to get a new lab coat and desk and haircut and stuff, at least at the beginning of each grade. And then you'll see Grade -2 will probably have a similar or even faster decay of the coat. But it has told a story. You've gotten burn marks from things, you've gotten marker and paint from things, and it correlates with the episodes and the shorts. Someone said to wash the sleeves, and I have. I wash it once in a while, and the dirt washes out. So it might be due for that because it probably got muddy this week, but the marker doesn't. So even when I wash it out, it doesn't change that much. I'm gonna have to see if the paint starts coming off when I keep washing it more, but we'll see. In any case, lab coat evolution is part of the combo class lore, so keep your eye out for details in that. Someone's wondering how you could teach complex numbers to teenagers. Probably trying to, well, a good start is to give some of the simple facts about them, both algebraically, like, well, if this number squared equals -1, then plug that into this equation, and then what happens when it goes to the third power or whatever. And another way is by using the complex plane, which is like a super common geometric visualization. So those are good at showing, like, I'm at this point that's a mix of real and imaginary, or I'm real and I'm imaginary, or stuff like that. And then you can sometimes try and explain some identities of how multiplication and exponentiation can cause certain sorts of hops or rotations. And thank you to everyone who just left all the nice comments. So I am going to need to try and pour a bunch of water out of there and see how destroyed some of the old stuff got. But it's probably good because most of the stuff's durable, and the stuff that's not durable is probably Time to clear away and get fully destroyed, so there's room for grade -2 to blossom. Now, one thing that I noticed is that an example of how bath-like it might be in those containers is that this thing was out and it has a bunch of water in it. So there's probably, unfortunately, that much water on some of my stuff. But these onions, I'm wondering, I'm going to take one out and leave one in because I think that it'll be interesting to see both ways which one sprouts a weird thing faster. As soon as they start sprouting weird things, I'm going to plant them in the wooden planter back there. And I got to be careful here because not only is everything really wet and drippy, but the trees above me even are still dripping a little bit. Someone's wondering if I have tasks programmers can help with. Yeah, I've had some programmers reach out to me who I've been busy, but who I'll continue getting in touch with. And if any other people have programming skills, they can also reach out. And sometimes I'm slow getting back, but you can always try reaching out to the contact email on my page if you think you'd be able to, for example, test large batches of numbers for running through some sort of sequence or things like that. It is cold out here. Oh, I brought some coffee. That was still warm. So I forgot to look at night whether that clock was glow in the dark, but I think glow in the dark should come back. So, like, as someone who grew up in part of the 90s when I was really young, the glow in the dark would seem really cool. I don't know if some of the glow in the dark stuff was newer then or something, but it seemed like dope if someone had something glow in the dark. And I feel like that needs to come back. Glow in the dark is pretty cool. Now, I especially want things that, imagine if I had like glow in the dark things that didn't look like invisible ink like glow in the dark ones, so that it would start to light up as the sun set. That'd be creepy if you were somewhere and like as the sun set you start to see like weird messages start to light up. And yeah, to whoever said having a nice studio space, like a cabin they foresee, that would be pretty awesome. I don't know if that'll be grade -2 or grade -3 or what, but it'd be really cool to have an indoor set and an outdoor set, and then I can film some of my stuff here and have a good indoor set for if it's raining or noisy or stuff like that. And eventually, maybe, if I ever manage to, I will have something like a cabin in the woods by a river because I love nature and that'd be pretty cool. I want to film more videos out in nature by a river and stuff because it's very chill vibe and background, a lot of life going on. Rivers are always full of new patterns in life just flying by you. So I feel like that'd be a good background for some videos. It might be hard to bring the big whiteboard, but I'll find some assistants who are down. Someone said to start rolling dice, and they might have missed the beginning of the stream because I haven't been rolling too many of them yet, which we could do in a bit, but I have poured out the dice already. That's not even all. We also got our Dyson dice, and we got our blank dice. And so we're set on dice probably for a grade or two. There could also be other symbols you see pretty recurrent. Like you may have noticed there's a lot of clocks and dice and fire and dirt in this season. Those may be symbolically placed on purpose. And as those expand, they will not only get more numerous, but a few more symbols will sneak their way into the mix. Yeah, Nature River Cabin numbers. That comment is a good sequence of things. I do think I would get some good mathematical thinking done in the woods. I love cabins. I was going to go to my friend's cabin, and that was when I caught COVID a few weeks ago. And then I might go in the winter, but it's a lot harder in the snow, and I'm still recovering from surgeries, kind of. And so, yeah, I'll see if I do a winter trip up there. When we were kids and we did a winter trip, that was when I almost died because I felt not the closest I came to death, which was like about a year and a half or two ago on January 2021. But probably the second closest I came to death possibly was falling through thin ice as a kid at that cabin. And I want to film a video telling that story, but I'm waiting till I'm at the lake to film it. The same lake I went to. And to whoever mentioned the Patreon supporters, yes, thank you so much. I haven't checked. I saw 1 or 2 people did it right after I launched it, but I haven't checked it since then. But thank you so much to anyone who has done that so far and who decides to do that at any point in the future. There'll be a lot of stuff I'm posting up there because I have millions of piles of content that I'm either like, most of it's going to go for free on YouTube, but some of it either is just extra extended or like doesn't make sense to put on YouTube for some reason, or I'm embarrassed to put on YouTube, or something that's like different than combo class, or various things that are described in the tiers there. So thank you so much to anyone who does that. But also thank you to anyone who can't do that, who leaves a lot of comments on videos and a lot of watch time and stuff. All of that's helpful. I love you all. But to people who can support on the Patreon, that is super cool. I do have one more cool item that I got. So I also got some practical items. I got like tripod type things and mics and stuff like that. So I have gotten some practical things with the rest of my savings. Don't worry. We've gotten a lot of gear already that I'm going to start using in combo class to make it better. But I also got things that I consider practical that others would maybe make me argue my case for, like all those dice. And since I couldn't find all of my pentominoes, which are a really cool type of puzzle, I got a new cheap set of those that I want to show you guys because these are one of the most fun puzzles. If you don't know pentominoes, or if you do, check these out. So I need to cut them open with a stick or something. They got plastic. Now, the problem with this brand I remember from before, they were cheap. They were cheap, but they fit them in perfectly into the box with no extra room, like, which is a solved puzzle. The goal of one of the most common puzzles to do with these, there's many shapes you could aim to make with them, but one of the most common goals is to turn them into a rectangle of some sort. So they have basically a solved state in here. So first I want to like dump it out and not even remember it because, oh no, this one has extra room. That's good. They'll have extra room this time. Last time they packed it so tight like a solved puzzle that I couldn't put it back in the box unless I solved it. And it was like, it's a hard puzzle. Basically, the funny thing about pentominoes, I made a short about this. You can check at some point later, which if you haven't seen, there are tons of ways that they can be arranged. There are tons of ways they can make rectangles. Yet it's pretty hard to make one of them. A rectangle that uses all 12 of them. And what are they? They're all the ways that 5 cells could be connected. And in this case, we puffed them out 1 unit in the 3rd dimension, but it's all the ways 5 cells on a plane can be connected. Now, if you consider them to also be puffed out 1 unit in the 3rd dimension, then you can also try and make cubes. Well, not like a cube, really, but rectangular prisms, you know, irregular cubes. So there's a lot of great puzzles with these pentominoes. I'm going to definitely play around with them later and see which ones I can solve again, because you can try and get different dimensions of rectangle too. It turns out if you count flipping them as the same, like if that's the same as that and stuff, then there are 12 ways to align 5 cells on a plane like this. And 12 times 5 is 60. And 60 is super divisible, so it works well. Now, what about tetrominoes, the ones made of 4 cells? You can't make those into any rectangle, and it's disprovable by looking at how many of them, if you laid them on something like a checkerboard colored black and white, would be on black or white cells. And then you get this sort of parity count of odd versus evenness of them in a weird way, and show that they cannot make a rectangle. So it's impossible with the tetrominoes, but the pentominoes have tons of ways of doing it. So these guys are pretty cool. So luckily they made it so I think you'll be able to fit them back in the box with a little extra error room, so you don't have to spend time solving the entire puzzle every time you want to put it away. So, and yeah, I'm going to keep some of the dice in somewhat pristine condition right now and not let them all get dumped out because I have big plans for them in videos. There's a lot of dice related concepts I want to cover. Now, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask. I'm also in a minute just going to take you on a little tour of how wet all the clocks got and see, along with you guys for the first time, if we got any water damage, which we probably do. So I'm going to try and semi-solve this with a little wiggle room because I think they gave me extra wiggle room enough to just get all the pieces in. So not semi-solve by any means, just like put them back in. So I am going to have to be careful how I do this. There we go. Yeah, they gave a lot of wiggle room. They made it easy. Oh no, I put it on the wrong side. Okay, whatever. We will fix this in a little bit. Okay. Here's what we'll do. Now that the dice are in the bowl, the pentominoes can go in one of the bags. Now I don't need this little dice bag, so the pentominoes can go in there. All right, so who wants to take a little look with me at whether the water caused too much chaos or just a little chaos on the surroundings? Okay, so this is going to be hard to navigate. It's also muddy. Okay, so these clocks dodged all the rain or just dripped off. Maybe it's like a waterproof and glow-in-the-dark clock. I don't know. That one's just not wet. The other ones are wet. This whole pile of stuff has its own little puddles on it. This is my little remainder of my desk. And then here, I was wondering if the rain will actually be cool because here's where I have that potter with like, once the potatoes sprout a little more, I'm going to plant them in there and plant some other cool stuff. And I have my shattered clock pile on there, but I also put compost in here. And sometimes the compost just grows weird random plants that were in the compost, just gives you like a free traveling plant. And I'm wondering if there's any chance that will happen here. It hasn't yet, it takes a minute, but there's been compost put in parts of my front yard that just emerged strawberry plants and mints and a lot of cool, weird stuff. Those nasturtium flowers. Now, one thing that does like the rain is this epic staghorn fern plant that just grows on the wall and doesn't use any dirt. It just likes rain and wall and sun. It's crazy. So that's going to grow extra green fronds coming out of it soon because it got a little refill of water. I don't know that much about that thing. It's crazy, but I saw it once in a botany class, and apparently it's called a staghorn fern, I think. Now, I also read that maybe spraying like a mist bottle at it might make it grow extra green, so I might try something like that. But right now, one of our main experiments is seeing what happens when we plant an onion, potato, and some other stuff in there. Now, that'll be in a snack break soon, but I'm going to have to see if I put that in the cactus fire snack break coming out in like a week or less, or if I put it in the save it to use for when they actually start growing. So we'll see when that footage actually comes out. Someone's thinking dice, how many values could be made with 2 6-sided dice if you use any types of things? Well, basically 36 if you roll them once, because there are ways to combine them in crazy ways to hit the right values you want. But there are 6 on one and 6 on another, so there's 36 combos that could end up being assigned to something. So if you roll with 2 6-sided dice, you could have, many factors of 36 would work in easy ways to copy. And so if you add a 6 and if you add a bunch of 6, you can start to cover what's known as the 3 smooth numbers. Numbers that are biggest prime factor is 3. So they're just made up of 2s and 3s at their core, multiplied together. And so 3 smooth numbers, which can be big, they can have a lot of 2s and 3s, but they can't have bigger prime factors, can be made with 6-sided dice if you have the right amount. You could also see it as factors of 36 in a way if you look for the right ways to make certain ones. And I'll do episodes about that. That is actually like related to one of the topics I have these dice for, is what combos of dice can copy other combos, is a video topic that will come out before too long. And that is actually why I bought the Dyson dice, was mostly to represent things like that, about what you can copy with a single roll of the Dyson dice, which is rolling 2 6-sideds that you can distinguish. And with those, there's the really crazy one to copy a million things would be if you had a few 6-sided dice, like one of my Dyson dice, and a 20-sided dice, because then you get a factor of 5 in your mix. If you had the 6s mixed with the 20s, then you're getting 5 smooth numbers with enough of them. Numbers just made up of 2s, 3s, and 5s. But that'll come up in an episode a bit later. I have plenty of topics I want to cover right now, but that is part of why I bought Dyson dice. So, yeah, I guess the classroom held up pretty well in terms of I don't see anything new like shattered or whatever, but I'm going to try and drain one of these things. So where'd the other one go? I put it under here so it wouldn't get more rain. Okay. This is full of wet stuff now. Okay. This is going to be a little chaotic. Oh, yeah. This stuff all took a bath. That's not good. Luckily, most of it's not technology. All right, I'm just draining some of the water. I don't know if you guys can even see any of this. Sorry about that. I'm going to need to clean that after the stream, and there's one more that I need to try and get a little water out of. This one, I think, also had its lid before open enough to let water in. This one doesn't have as much, but it has a little. All right, so yeah, a lot of stuff accidentally got wet because I didn't predict the rain. The rain surprised me today. However, most of it will be fine. Well, right now, a lot of it fell out, but most of it will be fine in the long run. Okay. A little bit of chaos, but we'll get back on track. You got to be careful when you have protractors in the mix. These things are pointy. I mean, compasses. Yeah, this thing's like rusty or something. Oh. That's a different question. Which shapes can you construct with this compass that is really hard to open? Okay. So, I am going to have to, right after the stream, take a towel out here and clean stuff up more from the water. Little bit of chaos when the water hits the classroom unexpectedly. Usually I have stuff under tarps, but I had everything in those plastic boxes that were semi-open. So, and then I woke up and I was like, oh, it sounds rainish outside. That's interesting. Whoa, it's actually raining. And then my window does this crazy thing where like the rain gutter must have either a glitch in it or be too full right there or something, or have leaves there or something, because when it rains, it'll be normal outside my window, and then something will collect up, and it'll go like and make this torrent of like hyper rain, like way faster than the normal rain's coming, and way heavier of a stream, right at my windowsill. Enough that if the window's open, it splashes in and starts like accumulating big droplets that are splashing in. So if it starts raining really hard, I have to like run to my room and shut the window and be like, no, don't do it. So yeah, rain can be a little chaos. However, it can also help us out, give us free clock washing, maybe make some compost grow, make our staghorn fern greener, make our dice carpet, have the dice more embedded in it. So maybe make some worms or isopods come up and help us with some composting. A lot of good things that the worm, not that the worms, that too. A lot of good things the worms will help us with, but a lot of good things that the rain will help us with. So, thank you everyone again for joining. The main plan today was to fix up some of this stuff and show you on stream, but it's going to take a little more intense using a towel and boring stuff to clean all that stuff later. So what we'll do on stream is just some good old chatting about math and nature and so on. I want to see, I want to maybe remove the giant clock. So if any more rain drips, it's going to drip the back broken clocks. Then if any more rain drips, it will drip right in the potter. And I want to see if any isopods or worms might have come to the soil. By the way, for anyone feeling Halloweeny, good news, we still have a pumpkin. Okay, this, oh, uh-oh. Turns out it's really heavy when it's waterlogged. This is going to be hard to tip the water out because it's full of glass shards. So to see this clock break, that's one of the early clips I put on my Patreon where the fire broke it somehow, but it'll also be in an episode on the main channel pretty soon. I just switched the order, so I have an irrational, crazy basic numbers episode about all these wild, irrational, and fractional bases. And then I have a the snack break. So I kind of flipped the order of those for some chronology reasons. Now I'm trapped. The heck have I done? How do I get out of here? Oh, this is, I should have had this out. This is hydrophobic sand. This wouldn't have gotten wet in the rain. The one thing that the rain wouldn't have done anything to, I had sealed. Okay, well, I do need to get out of here somehow. I've created a trap. Okay. Okay, so now, oh, I didn't even take the red one out. So I guess I'll stay trapped for a minute. Yeah, see, this part's fully dry. It should have been getting that rain with the rest of it. These guys will wait until they sprout a little more. And are there any worms or isopods up here? If I was a bird, I would be pecking around here for sure. Hello. So, yes, every bad thing can be turned into a good thing sometimes. I mean, some things are just bad and dark, but you can find silver linings and sometimes make the silver lining even bigger than the bad thing. So, what else I was going to talk about was that this bonus channel is unbelievably About to hit 70,000 people. I almost was going to stream for all of the meme lovers when we passed 69,420 a little while ago, which actually is a number in a sequence. I looked it up in the OEIS because I was like, okay, maybe there is something important about random meme numbers like 69,420. And it turns out that that number is the total number of 7-digit integers with multiplicative digital root of 2. Meaning if you keep multiplying all the digits of a number and then keep multiplying the results of that, you get down to 2. So, and then the even crazier one is the number 69,696, which we passed recently. That one is the largest undulating square, meaning a square number with 2 digits going back and forth that we know. I'm not sure if it's proven or not, but at least that we know. The largest discovered. And it's also, it was in the book of interesting numbers, the dictionary of numbers I had, but that's indoors, luckily, due to the rain. And even a broken clock is right twice a day. And yep, I would say especially a broken clock is right twice a day. Because it's an interesting phrase that it's like even a broken clock. When it's like, no, especially, that's like the main thing that's right exactly twice a day. So, but no, I know what you mean. That's the expression. And yeah, even broken clocks around here, when they get bumped, the time changes. So sometimes they might be right more than twice a day or slightly less than twice a day, depending how they're bumped. But typically they're right twice a day. And like I've said, there's a sundial like 3 miles from here or 4 or 5 miles from here at the marina. So if I ever really need to know what time it is and one of these isn't helping, I can go to the sundial, which you folks haven't seen yet because I've been recovering from my surgeries. But now that I'm mostly recovered, I'm going to take you on more field trips, like to the sundial. And it is just crazy exciting that there are 70,000, almost 70,000 combo lords here. It's going to happen in like 100 or 200 more, which happens quick around here. And I love you all. You're super awesome. And also, something I haven't said in a minute is thank you to any aliens who happen to be watching this through a weird telescope where our time already happened, but they're watching in the future because it takes a while for light to transmit. So if any aliens happen to be watching us that way, thank you. You're cool. Now, what else do we have around here? I really need to fix this clock situation with 3 clocks worth of broken glass. And this guy who was over there to cover up the campfire, but I don't even think it ended up. The type of thing it would be covering it up from would be rain, and I don't think it did cover it up from that because it already had its glass face broken. But the ones with glass and plastic on them are pretty durable. So I'd say that we're going to lose some clocks on our clock quest as we gain them. You know, our clock quest with clocks, some people's collections, they're just like inching up. But our clock quest is more real. It's real life clock quest, and that means that like a real life graph of something like a stock or an amount of subscribers, you're going to get little dips in your rise. And so we're going to lose some clocks on the way, but we need to just gain more clocks than we lose. And we need to make sure that when we lose a clock, it was well documented for a scientific purpose or in a way that will make a scientific video more captivating. So there are a lot of combo class cool philosophies we will come in core, understanding of throughout the grades. But right now we're just starting our journey with a lot of number theory and backyard science and stuff, which are some of my favorites. And what else do we have going on in the combo realm today? Well, I am going to go to an art and craft related thing later tonight, and I feel like I should design some sort of clock. Maybe I can bring one of these clocks with the glass removed and then redesign a clock in it. Did that get all the glass out? Because if that got all the glass out, it turned it safe. But if it got half the glass out, it turned it more dangerous. Ready to sneak attack you. I think it might have gotten all the glass out. So maybe I could peel this clock off, the clock face, like rip it off and then we'll redo a new one under it. Should I rip it off? What's under it? Wood? Yeah. All right. Ready? Uh-oh, it's all moldy under there. That's bad. Yeah, I don't know if it's good for craft night. Maybe I can scrape the mold off. What about this one? Well, no, that one's too bumpy. I'll just maybe have to start a clock from scratch there. So, I also need to make a clock making party and end up recruiting my friends, make them think, oh, it's fun tonight to make a clock. And most of them aren't going to want to take the clock home, and then it'll work. But I need like the right circular things, and I need more of these. I'll keep these that came from the clock because these are handy. I can add these back on any circular thing that I want to have a clock thingy on. Theoretically. You got your little mechanism. I really need to befriend the owner of some clock shop. Be like, cut me the right deal. I'll be your best customer in decades. Let me see if it's possible to scrape off the mold from this clock and make it have a fresh surface under, or if the mold's like the inner surface. I feel like this is cleaning it actually kind of well, but there's a lot of weird types of dirt in it, but I feel like the mold's new from the rain. That's actually quick for mold to grow. I don't know. So I feel like this could be a good source to make a cool new clock, because we don't need our new clock to just have 12 hours. We could have our clock represent a different modular table, or we could have our clock represent something like the musical circle of fifths. There's a lot of options for what we could make a clock represent. I'm going to need to turn some of these clocks into musical things, because there's a few ways of analyzing the 12-note musical scale that is used in Western music as a clock. So, theoretically, this might work to create a new modular clock or a circle of fifths clock in. Could be a good one to keep on deck just in case. And yeah, someone said social media is going to be different in a millennia. And I think that in a millennia, which is a long time and a lot of crazy stuff could happen, maybe they'll be counting in base 6 and they'll think that this channel was ahead of its time. But we'll see. I think the future aliens and future historians will hopefully like me. But you never know. Maybe the future times just have a completely different sense of humor or a different sense of learning or something. But it is interesting to see how much technology of like watching a video has evolved in the last 100 years. Absolutely crazy. You know, 100 years ago, you'd have like black and white film reels. Completely different method than is used to make film usually in like to make this form of content. But yeah, there will be lots of content. A lot of it will get buried, but the combo lords will shine to the top. Let's see. Thank you for all of your comments, and I think that we're not going to be able to do a super long stream today. We'll probably do an hour of a stream because I'm going to need to clean this up more thoroughly. And I want to finish editing that episode about crazy fractional and irrational bases, because one of the longer main channel episodes, it's more than 20 minutes. And so it goes into a bunch of bases. So as another quick reminder, these are an actual list of the ones it covers in that episode. First, we're used to base 10. Then we see, what's the order? First we see base 1/2. Then we see base 3/2. And there's a weird game that lets you figure out numbers for 3/2 that I show. And then there's one, it goes to then the square root of 2, square root of 10, cube root of 10. And these are the base number, not the number we're trying to represent, but what base we're counting in. And the golden ratio. And it goes into pi briefly, but I'd say in the episode, just don't get your hopes up too much for base pi. Everyone's like, oh, I can't wait for base pi in that episode. Base pi is transcendental, so get more excited about algebraic irrational numbers. All the other ones I mentioned can unfortunately do more than base pi, unless you're looking at certain problems with circles, but in terms of like representing a whole number or something. And a good little analogy for that would be that if pi takes an infinite non-repeating decimal to represent in base 10, 10 would take an infinite non-repeating decimal to represent in base pi. Like, just as kind of an intuitive reason why there's going to be something off with trying to do stuff with base pi. However, you can do surprising things with the square root bases, the cube root bases, the golden ratio base, the fractional bases. Crazy. So if you guys want any challenge before I drop that tonight or tomorrow on the main channel, the main combo class one, you can try and figure out how to write a random number like the number 15 in one of those bases. So yeah, that episode's really long. Then we got some snack break stuff. And then the next ones I'm going to film are going to go off onto a bunch of interesting topics. I might use the dice that I got saved here. I've been waiting to talk about a few different other topics. But this week, my current research, one thing I've been interestingly sidetracked by, which will be part of an episode in the future, but to give a miniature sneak preview, is something known as, I guess I can't write on these are so wet. I'll just say something called a prime signature. So it's categorizations we can give numbers, like families they live in that have different types of prime signature in common. And some of them line up with other numbers you already have a nickname for, and others of them just describe other types of numbers. And the prime signature can be like evolved into telling you how many divisors a number has and many other traits about the number. So if anyone wants to play around with that in the meantime, well, actually, I'll save that because I have a cool intro to that, and we'll do an episode about that on the main channel soon. I'll film that in one of the next ones. So someone's wondering why imaginary numbers represent currents, but it physically exists. So imaginary numbers don't necessarily mean something can't physically be called to be that. It's hard. I'm not sure. I'm not a physicist or chemist, so I'm not sure on, or whatever, an electrical engineer. I'm not positive on the details of why I shows up in certain equations, but I is not that much weirder than a negative number. Like, you don't see -4 floating in the world. We've decided -4 to mean like something in the opposite direction of 4. So like -x is something in the opposite direction of x. And then it's sort of like having another axis, another direction to go if you're incorporating imaginary. So some things apparently need 2 axes to describe, and it helps describe 2D rotations to have that extra axis. I mean, in terms of graphs, so I'm not sure if that's the exact correlation to the equations. I don't know as much about, like, electrical engineering as I know about number theory or stuff. But it's interesting. Someday, hopefully, I'll work with some scientists and stuff. I live not too far from the Lawrence Laboratory where all those elements were discovered, and maybe someday I'll trick them into letting me in there. And by trick, I mean like, befriend someone. I don't mean trick them, but somehow let me film in there. I'll somehow trick my way in. And I won't cause any trouble if anyone from Lawrence Laboratories is listening later. I'm going to only be very respectful to all your equipment. And then I also want to film in this place called the Lawrence Hall of Science that I would go sometimes as a kid. That's like this cool science center, like museum place with all these crazy experiment stuff for kids. So I feel like I could get a lot of cool math out of the experiments they have there. So I think I am going to cut off the stream when it's at an hour, unfortunately, because part of why I wanted to stream was just to show the dice, and part of it was to announce for people who didn't see the short I made that I did finally make the Patreon. Some people were requesting. It's just patreon.com/comboclass. But there's also the link in the description here. And so people should just check that out. Even if you can't support, take a look. And I love you all anyway. But if anyone has any last questions or thoughts or stuff, they can also feel free to ask. And then as soon as I end the stream, I'm going to have to kind of take care of the issue of like the puddles of water that formed in some of these bins. And I think it's done raining for now, but I'm not positive. So the rain could return. So I'm going to have to box and tarp stuff up a lot better. But I guess I didn't quite finish my thesis statement to the answer to the last question, which was that imaginary numbers aren't necessarily less physically existent than negative numbers. Okay, so we got tons of clock piles now. Now we only have 2 clocks in the shattered clock pile and 2 clocks in the wet clock pile. So I think that's an improvement, moving clocks from the shattered clock to the wet clock pile. But there's more singular broken glass on here. So I'm going to have to deal with all this at some point. And yep, sometimes do ever comment about the hat. Sometimes I like to wear a hat and when I'm out and it's cold or wet or whatever. And I don't have many hats, so I sometimes wear baseball hats, but I usually wear this one on stream. I don't have that many clothes in general. I just like do the laundry more often, but don't own that many clothes. But I don't know. I'm not that into fashion. I don't really care. So too busy thinking to worry about what I'm wearing, apart from having some protection, a protective layer like the lab coat. Because that, then when my thinking gets me in trouble, this takes some of the damage. So, couple more minutes to leave any last thoughts, and my last thoughts are that I actually want to like the rain. I want to appreciate and love the rain, although it causes chaos out here. It's good for the plants, and long term it's good for animals and stuff. And so we're going to appreciate that. If you don't live in a zone that the rain is causing a tornado or flood, then a little bit of rain, although it might be an inconvenience, is actually good for the earth, and we like the earth. So can't believe we're almost at 70,000. That's insane. Can't believe people were encouraging me to do a Patreon, so I did with some really cool rewards. And I can't believe that I've been putting out episodes on the main channel every 6 or 7 days. And that's what's happening now. I'm not sure if it'll be out today or tomorrow. I also will get back into filming a few more mathematical shorts. I haven't been filming those as much this week, but I have tons of notes saved up that are like, film a short about this, film a short about this. So one nice, I was going to say summer day, but it's not summer. One nice winter day, I will go down my list and film like 10 shorts for a week. And where am I from? This is in California of the United States. Someday there will be a combo castle in the woods by a stream, and some of you will get to visit it, but we'll see. Combo castle may be very rare. Might have to have fake decoy combo castles at other points in the woods, so its location's more hidden. So we'll see. That all comes after the clock heist. I mean, after just a few grades. But in any case, I love you all so much. I'm going to cut it off right now in a sec because it's about to hit an hour, and I need to actually deal with the water more than I realized. But thank you for joining me for a little peek into what it looks like on a rainy day out here in the combo classroom when you've gotten your new pentominoes and gotten way too many dice. But not way too many, because now we have all the polyhedral ones to have around.
And we're going to be able to, whenever we need to demonstrate something about a dodecahedron or icosahedron or whatever, we'll have one there. And we also got our Dyson dice to roll twice as fast when we need to add 2 dice. And our blank dice, where we're going to make some intransitive dice. Those dice are strange dice where if you put the right numbers on 3 dice, you can make a little cycle. And it works with more than 3 in different ways, but in the 3 die example, there's a little cycle where this dice rolls higher numbers than that one more often. That dice rolls higher than that more often. But that rolls higher than that more often. Seems impossible. You can't do it with straight integers because those are transitive, but you can have intransitive dice. Very strange. So I've been researching those and coming up with some of my own versions of them. And that'll be a very epic episode that I've been saving from the beginning, but that I have a lot of cool personal discoveries in, so I'm waiting to get that right. Which will require some animations, which will be very helped out by anyone who joins that new Patreon, and helped out just by people who watch this a lot. This channel's not on the partner program yet, so watching this doesn't get me money, but maybe in the future. And remember that if anyone supports anything I do with any sort of money, which I feel awkward to ask for, but just to throw out there, if they do, remember it's going toward a very educational cause. I'm going to use it to make cool math and science videos. And I feel like grade -2 when it hits will be extra dope. And we'll see how long grade -2's desk lasts. So thank you all for joining me here. I love you all so much. Check out some links and stuff in this description. There's also more links on the About page of this channel. Now I added the links to the main Discord, the main free one and stuff, the zone for people to chat, the Discord server, and I added links to their subreddit and the Patreon and other stuff on the About page here. So pop by there or by this description and stuff. I love you all so much. And definitely stay tuned to the main channel because that next episode about irrational and fractional bases will blow your mind. Okay, I love you all. Remember that even with 1/100th of this many dice, the amount of possibilities they could roll would be absolutely massive. And factorial permutations are making our life unique more than we realize. So have a nice dice day, and I will see you all in the next video or stream. Thank you so much.